Goddess, do you know your worth? Well, I'm here to tell you today that you need to be pricey. What does that mean? Well, my beautiful, brilliant guest, Dech Devaiah, is going to share that with you, coming to us all the way from London, England. She and I met in the most beautiful way, and she's going to share with you the magic moment that we met and began cultivating this wonderful friendship that is so enriching to us and now to you.
Welcome to the Goddess Power Show with Elizabeth Ann Atkins, the podcast for women exploring traditionally taboo topics as a portal to your power to live bigger, better, and bolder and manifest your heart's wildest desires.
Welcome, Dech.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm so pleased and honored to be on the show. So thank you greatly for having me.
You're welcome. I'm thrilled that you're here because it was so fun how we met. And then we engaged in these conversations despite the time zone difference and the being on different continents. We just clicked like we're soul sisters. And it's it's beautiful. You are part of my goddess tribe, and I'm so excited to share your wisdom with all the women who are listening and watching today.
Likewise, no, absolutely. And I was looking back at the memories of how we had met and how far we had come, and you just reflect. You're like, it's only about a couple of months since we met, and the whole setting where we met, right, in a remote island in the Bahamas, where I was with a bunch of people that I knew with, but I got sidetracked. But interestingly, with your son, and we were just talking about, the power of humans who
Right.
had found this very interesting way of teasing the sharks to the wild imagination of entertaining tourists. And it started that was the initiation of our conversation, and then you chimed in, and then that was it. I cannot remember the rest. I think the rest was all about a very deep conversations
Yeah,
where we
yeah.
clicked at many levels. So no,
Yes.
absolutely, it's been a pleasure getting to know you since.
Yes, 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 Dutch. So I was on a family vacation in the Bahamas. We were staying at the Atlantis Resort, and we took this powerboat adventures day trip to this beautiful island where we got to watch them feed the sharks and feed the pigs. And there were also, stingrays, and it was exciting. So another boat pulls up, and Dutch was on it. I didn't see her, but I all of a sudden saw my son talking to this beautiful lady in a bikini and sunglasses. I'm like, who's this? And I was just watching, and I had met other people from England who were also on your trip, and they were on the beach, and we're all standing around in bathing suits in the blazing Bahamas sun. And then those two were talking, and then all of a sudden, Dutch and I started talking, and we just clicked like on so many levels. It was just your soul will recognize your friends or who's supposed to be your friends. And she and I just had this most amazing conversation as they were making conch salad. Remember that?
You were indeed. I know, but that wasn't the primary focus for us, I'd imagine. We
No,
had
no, it
something to
wasn't.
talk
No, it
about.
was like time stood still. And here's the cool thing, ladies. I hear so many people say they're afraid to cultivate new relationships with women, whether it's at work or personally. And that's because they've been burned or had friendships that went wrong and they just don't trust. Well, I'm here to ask you to please be open to meeting women who are compatible with you because here's what happened. Dutch, do you want to talk about the next day or the last day where you made the effort for us to really cultivate a friendship?
Indeed. But I guess it also takes two to tango. So it's just not me making the effort. So I went back, and I think there was a time and moment where we'd really clicked in that very time we had met in the island. But when I went back to my hotel, I had a bit of a reflection. I always like reflecting. And it just felt like, there was something more meaningful there as friendship, and you could build that over time, but you had to put the first step forward. So I texted Elizabeth and I asked you, would you be free for a coffee? Just 2 or 3 days after, I guess. It was just like I was going to leave by the end of the week, and I got on a taxi, went all the way up to Elizabeth's hotel, which was a better one compared to mine, although they both were really fancy.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. So we sat in the terrace that day, and I remember your son was almost gobsmacked, I think, looking at us. He was like, no way. This conversation that started on an island could not have gone that far, and
Yeah.
that we couldn't have, waited any longer to have met again. And I
Hmm.
remember we kind of laid the foundation, I think, for
Hmm.
what we wanted to explore as two people who understands life in similar contexts, but also two people that are open to understand life with different perspectives, right? So I think for me that day was just a great starting. We laid the foundation, and then here we go.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And our very first conversation, you said, be pricey. And your beautiful accent, that just resonated with me so deeply. And we talked about women knowing our worth and the importance of being enough. And so Dech and I are going to dive deep into that today with these golden nuggets that all of you listening and watching can take away and apply to yourself, because Dech and I are doing that. And that's why we came together. And we were sitting on this terrace with this spectacular view of the resort and the Caribbean Sea. And it just felt dreamy and it was real. It was so beautiful. But we talked about how we both had to make the effort. We were on vacation. She literally got in a taxi to come over to my hotel. And I took time out of my day. I could have been at the beach or the pool or whatever, but it was very valuable for me to make a new friend. You agree, Dutch?
Oh, totally,
Mm-hmm.
totally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, no, it's been brilliant getting to know you and getting to understand the aspects that you're trying to empower yourself, but also the community at large. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's for me, it's hugely moving,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's also a journey for a lot of people out there.
Uh-huh.
And I think I want to caveat this discussion. Whilst I appreciate there are tons of information right out there. I mean, you can go through any amount of podcasts, I think, on most of the subjects we're going to talk about today. There are advisors, there are therapists, and there's so much out there. But I suppose if you look at this conversation, this is more of two people really sharing their early learnings and takeaway, whilst recognizing this is a journey and not a destination. So I just want
Ooh.
your viewers to kind of bear that in mind as they listen into some of the nuggets we'll talk about, I guess.
A mic drop moment, and we just got started.
There we
Thank you.
go.
Thank you, Dutch. Thank you. So let's start with the term be pricey. Can you
Yes,
please?
certainly. I will. But just before that, just to give a bit of context about who I am, right? I mean, just to give a bit of color, obviously I live in England now, so London's home. But I grew up in the mountain regions of southwest India in a place called Coorg. It's a very small community that I grew up in. It's a small non-indigenous group of people that grow coffee for a living. So we kind of say that we're from green India, then the beautiful, colorful India, but also it's kind of tucked away from the hustle and bustle of India. So I think very early on, peaceful living, understanding the world beyond us was always something I was curious about. So it was more of a fascination to travel, knowing about people from different parts of the world or their perspectives, their stories, was very, very exciting for me. So yes, I left home really early, explored the world a little bit, had the opportunity to live in a few countries, and now I call England home. And I do have a beautiful 7-year-old daughter, and the pair of us, we love walking, we love doing theatres, travels, and all sorts. But we also, the pair of us, do a lot of deep conversation where some of these topics we do talk about from time to time. And also, I work in travel technology. I support running a commercial growth strategy for the EMEA region. So I kind of look at balancing work life and also understanding life, bringing in the different perspectives and
Mhm.
accordingly adapting myself.
Mm, I love that.
Being pricey, going back to being pricey. I guess it shouldn't sound arrogant in any way, the term, as the term does sound a bit arrogant, but I guess in some sense, as we all get older, there's one thing that I appreciated is growth happens when you almost step outside the box and you allow yourself time to know you better. So when I think about that, I feel like when you're with a space with lots of people or in the company of people, perhaps it's a little harder to understand yourself a little bit deeper. So maybe you have to make some of those tough choices to step outside the box, to dig deeper within yourself and understand you a bit better. So it starts there for me. So the other part for me of being pricey, I feel, is in a world that's constantly changing, it's all about making small changes where you set up your own expectations as it suits you and your situations. So it's about not letting others tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing, or you could or you should do, or things like that. So I think in some sense it's about understanding what your boundaries are, but also setting yourself your time to protect your peace, and also recognizing things that you want to do that brings you joy than having to follow the pack. So
Yes.
that for me is being pricey. So it's not about having to reply, but in some sense taking the time to respond and to save the energy and to almost to give it to those that around you really truly cherishes you, versus giving your time to anyone and everyone, without obviously coming across as arrogant. So for me, being pricey is a different layered view of approaching things as it matters to you, but also being adaptive to people and situations that are around you.
Hmm. Hmm. That is an absolute treasure chest of wisdom with so much to take out and just watch it sparkle. Because Dutch, first, value. Many women don't value ourselves or our time, our resources, our attention. And these are finite resources. We only have so much energy in a day. And we're
Yeah.
often so busy giving, giving, giving to
Yeah.
our families, our friends, our work, our community, our faith community, that there's nothing left. And then
Yes.
many women just tell me they collapse at the end of the day exhausted and get back on the treadmill tomorrow running to nowhere.
Yeah. Indeed, indeed. So if you allow yourself time, and again, as I reflect, the journey that I have been through is only when you step outside that box and take time for yourself, you will truly understand how you prioritize yourself. How do you find the energy that you want to save for yourself, and you make yourself equally important. I would never say more important, but I'd always say equally important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, Dutch, tell us, please, how do you do that? How do you step outside the box? You're very busy with your wonderful career, with your daughter, and you have other endeavors in your life. You're very active and physically fit. So, how do you take the time to step outside the box and look at your life so you can prioritize being pricey?
Yeah, so taking time for yourself is a very hard one, right? Given the fact we all live in such a busy life. So I've always done things fitness wise, but largely I've done things that are more or less, go do a quick run or go to the gym, something really, really not hard work, but something that fits into my schedule. But through this journey, I took a very slow pace of doing things whereby I prioritize walking as a big part of finding that time. So I found a way of fitting that into my routine on a normal basis. So whereby I'm in England, as you know, London, you don't necessarily need to drive wherever you want to go. You can do a lot of walking. You can get on buses. So connectivity is easy, which I know it doesn't always work in every part of the world. So I built in walking as part of my routine. What it did to me was when I embedded that as part of my life, it gave me a lot of time to not only do the walk, but also reflect and think and dig deep. So that was my way of carving time out. And then I made it kind of the thing that I wanted to achieve was, what do I trade off, right? If walking became the priority because it allowed me that mental space, the only thing I could trade off, given the fact that I'm a single mom, I have a daughter to look after, as you said, a very busy corporate career as well. I had to trade off social life. I had to trade off things that did not bring a great deal of joy. It was just about, as I was saying before, I think, moving with the pack constantly, trying to just go from one week into the other, a packed diary, and not really seeing whether or not it filled my soul truly. So, yes, I did cut back on most of my social life to find that space. But as you realize, I mean, initially it might come across as, okay, you're just isolating yourself, but it's not. Over time, you realize you found the Zen zone, and in your own company, you will blossom. And that, I think, is my journey and how I've kind of found that little nugget of cherishing my own company, which
Oh my
I
gosh,
hadn't known.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh, Dutch, that is so powerful. Yes, wow, cutting out social life. And it might seem like a sacrifice in the moment, but the
Yes.
investment that you're making in yourself, when you do decide to step back out into the social scene, you will be a goddess. You will be so empowered. You'll be so magnetic. You'll be so discerning on where you do go and who you go there with. And it's the most wow. I'm just
That goes back to then being pricey about your time, your energy, and your views that you hold close to, and your values as well,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm.
I guess it all goes hand in hand in some sense.
Yes, yes, yes. So more and more people are choosing to be single, to live alone, and to cultivate their inner world like we're doing, you and I. And if a partner comes along, wonderful. But in the meantime, the solitude and the introspection that you described, especially while walking, because you're out in nature or out in the city, and the energy of it is just so high frequency for you.
Yes.
So this is so beautiful. Ladies listening, watching, please go within, take time. And Dutch, how do you recommend that other women with very busy days and lives,
Mhm.
especially if they are married and have kids and that whole other responsibility, how do they take time to do what you're saying?
I think you have to find yourself the time. It all starts with you, right? Simple ways doing is have a sit down and even look at the things you can start doing in life which you haven't considered. Or perhaps you want to look at things you want to stop doing in life, because then that will allow you the time and the space. Or
Hmm.
maybe there are things you want to continue doing in life. So it's always worthwhile to have a sit down, reflect within, and write it down. And so I'll talk about a start, stop, and continue exercise that I did. So which is quite helpful for me. So I looked at things from a what do I want to? I think I started with everything I wanted to stop doing in life, and I realized one of the things that I was spending a great amount of time perhaps was I was doing a lot of people pleasing, which meant I would go do lots of socializing, lots of being with people, lots of hosting people, and all of that, which like every one of us did, and so did I. But I realized as I did that exercise, if I stopped some of that, it gave me the time that I needed for myself. So I think your stop is a very big part of how do you find the time. And then when you've stopped things and allowed yourself that zone or time, you can then bridge that with what you want to start doing. And also don't necessarily overlook the things you've done well that'll serve you well in the long term. So please continue to do the things that serves you well.
Hmm. Hmm. And wow, as you identify how you can be pricey and value your self-worth and your time, you will prioritize these activities
Yes.
and then some will naturally just fall off. I love what you're saying because sometimes we get in a routine and, oh, wait, let's go back to people pleasing, Dutch.
Hmm.
That, tell me what is the root of people pleasing and how do you stop?
I think there is no one way of doing it. I think it all stems, it goes long way back, right? I think for a lot of people, it stems from your childhood. Perhaps it also your early adult life, or it could well be the relationships that you've been in where people perhaps needed the validation. So you thought the way to get validation is by pleasing someone, to always be nice to someone. But you don't necessarily have to do that just in return for something. I mean, if you truly want to do that for yourself, it fills you up with joy and compassion and all that, do it. Do it if it 100% is fulfilling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also a part of me. I just do a lot of it naturally too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when you kind of feel that, you kind of have to embrace being in the society because everybody else is doing it. Like, as I said, social life, where you're just doing hosting people, making sure you're there to be there to attend a variety of events that are on your diaries. And you come back home feeling, oh, I really didn't want you to be there today. I rather just sat back and did something myself, or I rather went on a walk myself,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So I feel like, people pleasing, it stems much greater way back in your life and not necessarily in time and now. But there are ways we can all find the time to reflect and say, if that's something you're doing and can allow you the time and space for self growth,
Uh-huh.
stop doing that.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes. I love it. I love that you said it's rooted in our childhood, and many of us aren't even aware of why we are people pleasers. But once you have that awareness and realize, for me, being a people pleaser would fill me with rage. I would be so angry when my mouth was automatically saying yes, but
mm,
inside it was screaming no. And I
yeah,
would go do whatever the thing is and just resent my time and energy and being there, thinking I'm pleasing someone else, but I'm really enraging myself, which I think is so toxic and can give you a headache, a stomach ache, and other illness and anxiety and anger. And so,
yeah.
Dutch, I've worked with a therapist. I work with a therapist every week, and it has been the best inner journey to identify why I've been a people pleaser and how to stop. It's really deeply ingrained in all of us. And so, listen, I learned how to say no, and now it comes out automatically.
Exactly.
And you,
It doesn't feel hard to, and I did feel a bit heavy on my chest, I have to admit, at the very get-go of that. I think, and how do you just be bluntly saying no? But it's not hard. It's not hard. It's liberating when you say no.
yes.
But I think the other part of all of that is, I think what I learned through is you have to somewhere start believing in what you do in whatever aspects of life, be it your personal life, your professional life, friendships, your relationships, your kids and parenting and everything. You need to kind of think, and this is how I'm still learning through that journey, as I said, you need to kind of believe that this is enough or you are enough versus am I good enough? So if you just reflect on that for just a moment, it's very powerful. So for me, I always say it to myself now is I am enough. So enoughness is not about proving something. It's just about being with everything that you know are your strengths and also things that are not our greatest strengths. We all have weaknesses, to recognize that. So for me, enoughness is something I truly practice because I know I am enough. Um, and I think, every day is not a sunny day. So, yes, all of us will go through life's grey days, as I like to call being in England, I think. And I think knowing, as I said, there's all sorts of weathers we have to go through, but recognizing you are enough, I think is a great starting point. And also sometimes I think that, we all get told, and maybe listening to the podcast, maybe some of the listeners might be thinking, okay, we are saying something that they have to consider. Not necessarily, right? This is just a viewpoint the pair of us are sharing, in the sense of us believing it. It has served us well. May not necessarily do the same to everybody, but I think that knowing you're enough is a real strong part of how you want to develop your life.
Hmm.
And then accordingly, I think you have to find ways of making the right choices. Again, choices does not necessarily mean everything you make would be the right choice or the right decisions, but you have to adapt and say, in the time and the moment and the information and the understanding I've had, those are the choices I've made, and that is fine. I am comfortable with that than beating yourself up, because all of us come with constraints of life where we know something or we don't know something. So I think it's embracing some parts of ourselves in knowing that was enough, that was a moment, and I am enough. I think for me, is quite powerful, and it has been. And I always feel like your mind is a bit of a trickster, right? If you can tell your mind, I am enough, and then
Uh-huh.
if that becomes a part of your daily mantra, it's so powerful.
Yes, and say it out loud.
Yes.
Because if you're having thoughts that you're not enough, when you actually say an affirmation like that, you
Yeah.
engage your brain and your mouth, which your ears hear and imprint back on your brain. So it's a cycle and it
Indeed.
interrupts the pattern of the negativity wherever the person was spiraling into.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
Dutch,
indeed.
you and I have talked about how feeling not enough is often rooted in comparisons. And when we
Mm-hmm.
compare, we despair. And I was in a situation recently where I was with these very affluent women who were describing life experiences that were just so extraordinary that most women would never experience. And I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh my gosh, wow, you did that and you went there and you had this."
Yeah.
And you can easily spiral into this comparison like, wow, will I ever get to do something like that? And then I thought, but I have a great life and I'm very blessed and I am enough where I am, what I'm doing and what I've done. And it stopped the spiral. And it's a
Actually.
powerful tool that I'm so grateful you're sharing with everybody to use. Just say, I am
Yes.
enough. And
Indeed. And I think also being grateful to everything we have, right? I mean, recognizing the world's not flat, it's round. And you think about, people have different paths of life, and in many, many ways. And I say this to my daughter all the time, how blessed we are with the haves versus, things that we haven't got in life. So no, truly, I think that it stems with being grateful. For me, comparison, as I have seen, is it really steals joy, right? I mean, it breeds sort of, I think, scarcity in some sense. So being pricey and being enough, and also the other part that I feel is there's something called being your own champion. In a world where we constantly look at someone to pat our back, we constantly look at someone to, as we talked about, validating us, or someone to, say great things about us. But if you just look within and if you think, actually, I am my greatest champion. I say this to my daughter all the time. You are your greatest champion. So when you say that to yourself, you set on a course that I think will just shape your path, um, because you will pick yourself on days when you need, someone else to pick you, because you understand there's nobody else other than you to get you to the next level, or just to lead you down the road. So you should always be your greatest champion. And I think sadly the world we live in, we all kind of are dragged into the world where it's driven down the path of social media. It fuels reels versus real life. And I think whilst I recognize a platform is powerful, but you have to steer it to your positive benefit, than getting influenced by things that can negatively impact your life. So I have learned great things from social media. Like I've
Uh-huh.
learned about leadership, I've learned about investments. I mean, I've learned a variety of topics via social media because I've steered it to my positive benefit.
Yes.
Versus I don't spend time watching influencers, or I do watch some food bloggers because I'm a foodie, so I love food. Doing that. But other than that, my Instagram feed perhaps is something which most people would find me boring, but it has served me well.
Yes.
So I think it's some of those. So the comparison trap, I think, in the current world is very, very hard because you've got such a great deal of influences. So for me, cutting back on social life again does help because you don't have those comparison sets to go after, even in your social circle.
Mhm.
And I've found joy in having really small circle of friendships, which are hugely fulfilling.
Mhm.
And yeah, find those little nuggets, find those friends, and who cares. Also, keep close bonds with the family that care as well, right? I mean, our family play a big part. I have a champion in my life. I'd like to always think it's me, but also I've got my daughter who is my
Mhm.
champion, but also
Mhm.
I've got a sister who is my champion. So it's girl power everywhere.
Yes.
So I am truly blessed, that I have, but I do recognize not everybody does. So in such a scenario, you are your greatest champion.
I love that so much. And your daughter is so fortunate to have a mom who's teaching her these things at such a young age.
Yes, I guess it's so important now than ever before, I guess, in a world where people can't make eye contacts anymore. So I have to remind my daughter when she's talking to people because we've always embraced our life with walking. Just this morning, we walked 10 miles together,
What?
which is quite a lot of walking for a 7-year-old, but
Wow.
it's a different pace. I say that I'm walking with Bianca, which means I'm walking at snail pace, my pace.
Uh-huh.
We do our pit stops. We dipped our toes in the waters because we walked down the Thames, River Thames.
Ooh.
But we do reflect. We do stop. We do reflect. We do talk about it. So every time she's talking to people, I encourage her to talk to people, first of all, like talk to people than shying away from talking to people. For me, as I work in technology, world will be driven with artificial intelligence, as we all know, is no new news. But I guess the power will be about looking people in the eyes and talking to people. It is so powerful. The connections we can establish with that, I think, would go a long, long way. So I am not bothered about getting my daughter to learn about technology and harness her skills and everything that is going to be futuristic. But I
Mhm.
am really trying to harness her core skills about connecting with people, finding the right sets of values, being grateful. And also, another part is reflecting. I think reflection is also very, very powerful. So you can adapt yourself when you reflect, but without having to be overthinking things. But I think these are some of the simple things that we do, but we love talking. There's no age, younger or older. I think you start early.
Yes.
It's always good.
Yes. I love
Absolutely.
it.
That every day is a celebration of all the people, right? It's all about people. So it's not about you're a man or you're a woman. It's all about people.
Back. I
So
always
my, feel as women, maybe because of obviously the past and how people have not had the right set of opportunity, and that still continues, right? I mean, we cannot undermine it. But there is still a choice where you can either play victim or you can be the villain, or perhaps you can find a middle ground. And the reason I say that is I feel like it's a scale, and not every day is the same. Can someday, maybe depending on the situation, you will definitely feel like you're the victim of that situation, right? Versus other days, you have to say, I have to really fight this thing out. I have to be the villain. Or maybe you find yourself the balance of the two and find yourself a middle ground. So there's again no one way to do it. But for me, I felt as I don't want to be on either end of the scale. I don't want to be the victim, neither I want to be the villain. So I always like to find my middle ground. So it could be anything that you are doing in life. I think applying the sense of being disciplined about it, applying a level of consistency, and more so, do that with passion and have your core values, kindness. I almost think like these things are life skills as we move
Yes.
into the next world,
Mm-hmm.
or the world
Mm-hmm.
that we're evolving into,
Yes.
versus I think our life skills that we've been taught about. You need to do swimming and cycling and things like that. Yes, they are life skills, but not necessarily so important, I think. Where I think discipline is so important for me. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not disciplined about anything, right, be it anything, it's harder to kind of pivot yourself to the next stage. And the same token, consistency I think is equally important.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep telling my daughter, no matter what, please organize yourselves and do the things that brings you joy, right? And keep
Yes.
at it.
Yes.
But do not ever forget to be kind to people around
Uh-huh.
you and to yourself.
I
It's
love it. I
so
love it.
important to be kind to yourself.
Yes, yes. So silencing the inner critic has been a thing for me. There was a time
Mhm.
years ago when I was really struggling with food and fat and body image and
Mhm.
self-worth. It was really terrible. I was depressed, mood swings, addicted to sugar. It was awful. And my inner critic was just vicious, Dutch. The way I talked to
Yes.
myself was so mean. I would never talk to another person like that.
Yeah.
And I had to do the inner work and learn how to love myself and also
Yes.
to heal the food addiction that I was having
Mhm.
and get more fit than I've ever been in my life and on
Yes.
autopilot with healthy eating and
I
my
mean, you've done tremendous work yourself,
thank
Elizabeth.
you. Thank
You
you.
look phenomenal, and it's a lot of mental resilience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a story about resilience, very personal to me, and I'm sure a lot of women out there relate with it. Is I early part of my 20s and 30s. I mean, just like everybody else, I went with a pack in obviously making sure I had found the person, and then it's about finding the person and settling down, maybe get married, and then we all do that. We all get carried with that, and then having children. So that becomes kind of the need, which again, if you'd look back, some of these things are defined by the society as things you have to do and fit into the framework.
Mm,
And I think it no longer should be the case because the world has changed. It's evolved so much. And if we have to constantly fit into those envelopes of what's that rule book, I think this is why people struggle the most. So I almost go to say that, write your own rule book, it's okay as it suits you.
write
Do
your
it.
own rule book. Brilliant, brilliant. What does that mean?
So if you think about it, you're always told, right, from either your family, the people around you, everyone that you engage with in life, on things that you could do or should do or must do. So you take things from there. But for me, growing up in a small community, I think I almost questioned some of the norm. I didn't believe in the things that I was told to do. So naturally, so I was labeled the rebel,
Oh.
which I think is very obvious thing to happen, but which helped me to think things slightly differently. So I did not want to go by the rule books all the time. Yes, I did say yes to things which were outside of my control, perhaps in the time and situations I was in. But largely, I have learned over the course of time, it's okay to say no. It's perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think somehow I also cannonballed myself into doing things that was deemed as as I said, the norms of the society. But you push your boundary a little bit and ask those questions, you realize no, you can make your rules, because when you know what No, I think at first it's important you understand if you are changing the trajectory of what's been told, you need to understand there will be consequences. And if
Yes.
you can bear those consequences yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then you should change your rules, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
know the consequences of it,
Mm-hmm.
make your own rules,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's your new rule book.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So the things I teach in my Goddess Power books, Dutch, are all about creating your own rules, but just deciding what works for you and what doesn't, and becoming aware of how we've been conditioned, what we've been taught, like you said, when you were small, and deciding, no, that's not for me. But it
Yes,
takes a lot of courage and confidence to do that, to be that rebel. And I love that. But it disrupts the misery because
yes.
when we follow those rules, they were made by other people a long time ago, as you've said, and they don't apply today.
Yeah.
And especially if we don't want to live a conventional lifestyle that is the template that society presents
Mhm.
of what women should be doing. And so I challenge everybody to decide, what rules am I following
Yeah,
and what new rules do I want to create for myself so
indeed.
that you can really live bigger, better, and bolder and manifest your heart's wildest desires. That's my motto.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are no boundaries to it.
Right,
In
right,
every
right.
other aspect, you want to set the boundary, perhaps,
Yes.
but that is an aspect. Do not set the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
You can, you can expand as much as you can to dream and to make your dreams come true. Because, and I always say this to my daughter, dreaming at night is fun, I guess, because, you can sort of push the boundaries as far you want, but you don't necessarily remember your dreams. So it's harder to
Mm-hmm.
remember your dreams that happens at night, but dream during light, during the day,
Mm,
then you know your dreams. Think about it. It's almost like manifestation, right? So think
mm-hmm.
about it. I am an absolute daydreamer. Even at this age, one could say, like, "Are you sure about this?" I can be an absolute daydreamer,
Uh-huh.
and understand that when you dream, it allows you the time to also reflect alongside, and don't let go of it. It's
Mm.
never an age or time to not dream. So keep dreaming.
I love that. That is beautiful. Keep dreaming. And
Yes.
Dutch, you live everything you've just described because you take these fabulous trips that are these huge adventures and you do things that some people would only dream about but never take the action to do. So, where do you find this courage and confidence to do this?
It's a very good question, Elizabeth. I think, again, it goes back a long way back to my childhood. At a very early age, I was only 7. I lost my dad on a very normal day. Sadly, he passed away in an accident. So that I didn't see that coming in life.
So
Neither did
sorry.
my mother or my siblings. But I guess it taught us a great deal very early on in life that nothing is here to stay.
Mm.
Nothing. Like, every day is so fragile that we just don't know what's out there and what's your tomorrow. So I learned to be me, I think, really early through that experience. So I wanted to be me. But yes, there are constraints of the society where I guess we all will feel that, not necessarily the society, but also perhaps the people that we are with, or relationships we are with. You don't necessarily always feel that you can find that about yourself, and find the strength, but you have to, going back to what we talked about, you have to come out of that box. And when you come outside that box, the courage you get, I think, is really, really helpful. And when you're your own champion, and if you believe you're enough and put that all together, that's like a good recipe. And again, I'm not saying it's a destination. And once you know these 5 things to do, you've arrived. That is not the point. The point is it's a journey by putting some of those ingredients in, and to sort of mold yourselves as you go along, and adapting along the way, I
Mhm.
think is so important.
I love it. I love it. So, Detch, you and I have had the most fascinating conversation about EQ versus IQ, emotional intelligence versus intelligence quotient. Okay.
Yes.
So, can you talk about the importance of EQ and IQ, please?
Yes, I mean, as you said, emotional intelligence is one component of how our brain processes emotions, versus intelligent quotient is about how we rate our brain's response rate in understanding and solving the issue or the situation or a task or whatever. So there are two different parts of how our brain function, right? But we think about as women, we've got a higher sense, it's intuitively higher, which is our emotional awareness and our emotional regulation is slightly higher. So I think then thinking, oh, am I being very dramatic about that situation, or am I being too reactive to that situation? If you showed empathy or if you showed compassion, I feel the other way around, where if you're truly aware of that emotional side of you, it can only complement your cognitive ability of everything else that you do. So, in a corporate world that I work, I mean, just like everyone, every other man or every other woman, I can be in the room, I can play my part. I can also help solving problems or business addressing business challenges. But when you then couple that with your emotional awareness of people that are in the room, it actually helps you understand people better. It allows you to know that everybody brings perspective. So what I always do is I like to kind of apply a simple framework there, and it not necessarily saying in a corporate life, but I also like to do that in my personal life now,
Mhm.
which is listen, right? I mean, take the time to listen. So I try to listen first as much as I can, and through that listening, if you consciously listen, you can learn through that very small listening window. And when you learn, you now understand that situation or the problem, and then you could lean into it. And then when you lean in, you almost show that you can lead and help navigate that situation. And when you lead, I think it's important to lead with empathy than to lead with power. So for me, it's about you apply that your emotional EQ to the side by side applicability of your IQ, and I think the influence of two and regulating that for women, I think it's hugely beneficial, and you can drive some positive outcomes from it, and it served me well, and I continue to learn from that. But it's a very simple sort of framework for me. It's like listen, learn, lean in. But also there's other parts where you can provide an input, and through that you can influence and you can also enable the change.
Mhm.
So I think as women we do have that emotional regulation and emotional awareness um, in navigating through. And I think this is again I think a bit of a taboo is vulnerability is almost deemed as a weakness. But for
Ooh,
me, being vulnerable is almost like a strength,
yes.
because you're putting yourself out there. Imagine you sat in a really big meeting and you said, I don't know what this means, or I don't know how we can solve this. I really have no idea how to do this, than
Mm.
saying, oh, I think we should do this, or I think we should do that. I think we did everything else.
Hmm.
Then just to step back saying, I don't know. So for
Oh.
me, that's becoming really, really powerful, more so now in my later life than it did in my earlier life. So I think we
Hmm.
should normalize being vulnerable. It
Hmm.
is definitely not a weakness. It's in fact a strength. I say that your IQ can get you in the room, but maybe your EQ can help you lead. So lead with empathy and
Oh,
lead with authenticity.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And again, Dutch, like many of the things we've discussed today, this starts with an awareness. where a person has to ask, am I leading with empathy or am I just going with the facts and the rigidity of the IQ? So
Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant, so wise. I love, love, love that so much. That is just lead with empathy. Empathy is just the golden character that you can have and make it wonderful. And people will like you more. And when people like
Yeah.
you, when they know, like, and trust you, they're more apt to do something better in the workplace or whatever endeavor it is.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
You can't earn those things in life. You can't earn empathy. You can't earn kindness. Those are things I think you have to invest. Those are not earnings for me. Those are investments.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think no matter how well you do in life, you can't just buy them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make investments in them for
Yeah.
it to truly drive the benefit or the outcome you want. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
kindness and empathy,
Hmm.
it goes a long way. But knowing where to draw the line, and again knowing your boundary,
Yes.
it can always get in the way. So I think there are ways you have to stand your ground. You have to be firm. You have to say the no's. There's no shying away from it.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yes,
you,
yes.
you can come across a bitch every now and again. It's all good.
I love it. I love that. I unleashing your inner bitch is very important because we're so scared to create any conflict.
Yes.
So that leads into using joy as a compass. What do you mean by that, Dutch?
Again, a lot of self-reflection, I think. So for me, my walks have been tremendous path for me to understand the things that truly brought me joy, right? I mean, it wasn't the big things, it was actually the little things that mattered. So I kind of looked at life and said, do I want to go after the North Star of my career or the North Star of, being the best parent or the best wife or the best sister or the best friend? Or I just do things simply that's in my boundaries within the energy levels that I have in offer to give. And I kind of, found a solitude in doing simple things. So for me, walking is really big. I like talking to people, no matter what walks of life they are from, no matter their titles, no matter their accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. So
Uh-huh.
that brings me great joy. So for me, I think given the society I've always lived in, we've always constrained with the social circle, right? And we're always going to maneuver with that circle.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've kind of taken myself outside of it, it's like a cover. Take yourself outside the cover. I realized it brought me so much joy talking to
Mm.
simple people,
Uh-huh.
understanding simple things, their own walks of life. So joy can be anything, and you got to do things that truly lights you up. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's something in you that kind of brings the best. And I say this to my daughter in some of our walks, and then funny enough, I say that I mean she's a bit of a fashionista at 7, so you can only imagine what's coming. I think she's already 7, going on 17. But I say to her like, Bianca, you can wear the best of everything, but do not forget to wear your smile.
Oh,
you know
wow.
so I'm like, yeah, you think
Uh-huh.
about it, you could
Uh-huh.
you could do the best of everything for yourself.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Had you just put on your smile,
Uh-huh.
imagine you can radiate as a positive energy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that bounces back because when you give, you get.
Mm-hmm.
And through my this was something I've done all my life. I've never failed to smile, and
Uh-huh.
it's helped me. It's helped me
Mm-hmm.
so much. Maybe one of the reasons you and I have connected as well, right? We're people that no matter the day will find a reason to smile.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's a choice. I think you can be miserable,
Yeah.
or you can smile. It is an absolute choice. So
Yes.
I think joy is your own compass. Nobody defines it but you.
Mm-hmm.
Find joy in little things.
Mm-hmm.
Find
Mm-hmm.
find joy in making things as simple as taking a walk. If that brings you joy, do
Mm-hmm.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe there are people that perhaps enjoy baking. Bake a cake. If that brings you
Mm-hmm.
joy, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
um, do it as it pleases you versus pleasing someone else
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Dech Devaiah, you are so full of wisdom and radiance, and I just love this whole message of be pricey. So, is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think I would just wrap this up saying ultimately, I think we all are like, I like to say that food is stocked up in a supermarket, which has an expiry date.
Oh,
So no matter what someone have to say about you, just let them. It's okay. Don't get
right,
bothered by it too much, you know. And
right.
then no matter the situations you're in, that will too pass, things will change. So don't get too worried about it. And I just say let go. It's not easy, but if you let go, you can see more clarity when you start letting go of it without getting consumed by it. And I think more importantly, I think it's so important to be you. If you can't be you, then you have to make some choices. You have to make some decisions. So I also remind myself people come to our life for a reason. Some come for a season, and perhaps some just come to teach you a lesson. So it's okay. Embrace a reason sometimes, or embrace a season, or just a lesson. But if you
Yes.
can let go without bitterness, I mean, like truly letting go, it's liberating.
Mm,
I'd say be you. Pause before committing or speaking. If you can just pause and think, like I said, listen before responding, or take the time to respond. Those are some of the things I think as we grow into the world where everything will be driven by technology, will serve us well.
hmm.
And keep smiling. Keep smiling.
I love that. Dech Devaiah, you are such a delight. I'm so grateful for our friendship, and we're both learning and growing with each other, and it's extraordinary. And I can't wait to see you again sometime in person, hopefully somewhere like the south of France.
Indeed. No, that is our plan. No, on a closing note, and I'd want to say my very favorite quote that I love to read from time to time. It is live with courage and love without limits.
Ooh, live
I
with courage and love without limits. Oh my gosh, I'm going to write that down and put it on my wall. That is
and
brilliant.
you are enough, right? And be
Yes.
pricey. It's
Yeah.
perfectly okay. And write your own rules.
Yes, 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 yes. You are enough. Be pricey and write your own rules. Yes, that is goddess power all the way. And Dutch, you
No, thank
truly,
you very much for having me. I mean, it's been a wonderful conversation with you, Elizabeth. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you very soon.
yes, yes, I can't wait. I can't wait. And Dutch, you truly are a goddess. So keep radiating your brilliant light in the world, your beauty, your fun, your wisdom, and you really are an exemplary woman that I'm so proud to talk with here on the Goddess Power Show.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I'm
You're
humbled.
welcome.
Thank you.
Have an amazing day.
And you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
So, is the Goddess Power Show with Elizabeth Ann Atkins inspiring you to live bigger, better, and bolder and manifest your heart's desires? Then please subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast to help more women experience these life shifting ideas. You can also watch the Goddess Power Show with Elizabeth Ann Atkins on YouTube. You'll find the link at thegoddesspowershow.com. While you're on the website, read the blog and see how Elizabeth's retreats can help you activate your female superpowers and make magic happen in your life. Enjoy novels and don't miss her latest book, The Bis Tribe. Activating Your Goddess Power by Elizabeth Ann Atkins. Find it all at thegoddesspowershow.com. To rock your realm from a throne of power, wearing a crown of confidence to manifest your heart's greatest desires. Remember, Goddess, you have the power.